Like she said, I'm Michelle LeBlanc. I'm the new Executive Director of Free Speech Coalition. If you are not familiar with FSC, one, we sponsored this panel. But two, FSC is the trade association for the adult industry. So our members are basically anyone who does business in the industry, and our 30-year history has been to make sure we have an adult industry and protecting your right to continue to work in it. This panel is part of our Inspire program, started by Lotus last year, and that we're really going to build out this year. Inspire is an educational program really aimed at new performers, prospective talent, anyone thinking about or who had just joined the adult industry, to really help them protect themselves and be safe, so they know what to expect. They can protect their bodies, because doing sex work is different than just having a lot of sex, so that they can protect their identities, so that they can protect themselves as a business. And I am super excited for all of this amazing talent that is going to talk to us about what they wish they would have known when they first joined the industry.
And with that note, I would love to introduce our moderator, Miss Casey Calvert. She's an AVN award winner herself. She's also a performer and a very decorated director and producer. So here is Casey Calvert.
Hi, everyone. So I am incredibly honored to be here today to represent the industry as a performer, as a director, to represent Free Speech, who I love. I'm so grateful for all of the work that they do. I want to just bring up that I have been in the business since 2012. I want to talk about years and when we all started, because I find it interesting how long we've all been in the business and the decades of experience, not to call you guys old, that we have on the stage right now. And also, I think as we talk about this topic, the business has changed so much in the past year, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, that the information that we're going to bring to this panel is impacted regarding the year that we started. So if you guys don't mind going down the line, introduce yourselves, include what year you started doing sex work. Go ahead, Jessica.
My name is Jessica Drake. I am an exclusive Wicked Pictures performer, writer, director. I am also a certified sex educator. I am the resident sex educator for Wicked Sensual Care as well. I've been with Wicked for a number of years, and I've been in the business for 20 years now.
My name is Anna Fox. I have been performing in the adult industry since 2011, I think, is the first time I saw something on camera. I'm a Fleshlight girl. I am a Playboy Plus model. I produce on my OnlyFans. I'm just a well-rounded adult person.
Hi, I'm Carla Lane. I am a plus-size version of the girls. Up here, I have been performing on camera for 15 years as of tomorrow. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Casey Kisses. I've been in the industry since 2016. I'm a content producer, cam model, and performer as well.
Hello, I'm Wolf Hudson. I've been performing since 2006. I've performed in all genres, gay, straight, bi, trans, you name it. And I currently not just perform, but I also produce my own content on Pornhub.
Thanks, guys. So, really quick, so that we have all kinds of good time for the meaty stuff of this panel. How did you get into the business? Like 2 sentences or less.
Condense that.
Go for it.
I am from Texas, was going to college, stripping, just making more than 2 sentences.
It's all around that.
Okay, perfect. Was introduced to some people that were in the adult industry. While I was still living out in Texas, they were like, oh, you should come and try it. I said, oh no, I could never. And here we are today.
So guys, listen up. I had a shitty boyfriend that he was really horny and wanted to fuck like 20 times a day, but I didn't even know how to suck dick. So I figured when he got offered to do porn, maybe I should take the offer to learn. And I'm single now, so here I am.
So I was very young when I wanted to do porn. I didn't know what porn was, but I figured the guys that would go behind the little curtains in the video stores were always coming out happy, so I wanted to do whatever that was. And I am still.
I actually started out from a car accident, and it kind of left me in a wheelchair to kind of figure out what I was going to do from there. I lost my job in my apartment, and I started camming. I dabbled in it before, and I just took it into like a full-time gig, and here I am today.
I used to be a bookkeeper before this. I was working for a button distributor. And I got laid off. They went through a merger, thank God. And I was like, I just want to be independent, do my own thing. I was looking through Craigslist and I saw the adult section. And there was an ad for a gangbang. I applied, they said come in. I did it, it worked. And so the rest is history.
One of the things I love about this business is that we can all have these incredibly unique origin stories. But here we are. We're all here. We just all came here our very own, very individual ways. So, shall we get into the question of the panel? Since the title of this panel is a question, I figured I'd ask you guys, what do you wish you knew when you got into porn? And from now on, I just want you guys to have a conversation. You don't need to go down the line and be formal, just talk. Just when you want to say something, turn on your microphone and say something.
Everyone's looking at you and I don't know why, so I was going to say balls.
Okay, I'll start. So first thing, pick the right name. Because that shit's gonna stick with you forever. And a lot of girls are like, I'm gonna do this. And like, if you can't answer to that for the rest of your life, you're,
Literally by the wrong name.
Ooh, I'm having a brainstorm. Does anybody in this room, do you care if I write down their really, really short answers and tweet this out later and tag people? Is everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do that then.
I guess I'll go. How to choose yours? Oh, how to choose mine? Oh, no.
I'll just say what I wish I knew when I started was that, I guess when I started, I thought that I would learn how to suck dick, which I did learn. But what I really didn't know is that like I would gain a lot of power in like myself. Like I gained a lot of confidence, which I don't know if I was ready for all the power to come hit me at once. Like, you know, you have the power to do what you want, when you want, where you want, for how much you want, until people fuck off or fuck on. You know, like you got a lot of power, and as you grow in the industry, it builds. And the longer you're here, the more you have a responsibility to be a good example for other people to come up, you know, because people are looking at each other. When I came and it started, I looked at other females and like what they were doing, especially for the events like Expo, AVN, whatever, like how are they dressing, what do they do? Like there's a lot of ideals that people put on the adult industry, like, oh, they're sluts and they fucking gangbang all day and they fucking suck dick on Tuesday. Like, but it's like a lot more than that. So like I had to be like a responsible person for my body, myself, which I didn't. I was ready for the money and the fame and that, but I didn't think I was ready to grow up. So it taught me how to be a better woman, a better partner, a better business person, and like those are the things that people don't put with adult because they think of it as immature or like you know, blase blah, like people are just fucking around and throwing booze at titties, but it's much more than that. So I grew up a lot and I care a lot more, I think more than I ever expected myself to, and I came into myself more than I ever thought. Like I never thought that I would be proud of myself so much as I am now in adult. Like I never thought that I could be a champion, a liaison, a sister to people like I am now, and the adult industry taught me that. So that's what I learned, and I was like, yeah, don't cry, don't cry.
I wish I had known my worth when I got in. The industry is business. It's a professional industry, and a lot of the times we go into it and we take things very personally. And you have to understand it is business, and if you don't do the business right, or at least to your own worth, it can be personal. And you end up regretting some of the choices that you do, and some of them stays with you for a long time, and there's lots of repercussions. And I remember I was so eager to want to please and want to do things, and I would listen to wanting to do this and do that, you'll be so much bigger. And I wasn't necessarily comfortable, but I didn't know, and I felt like, well, this is what I have to do to really strut myself and put myself out there. And I look back on it and I'm like, no, I didn't have to do that. And some of it to this day, I look back and it's like, I really wish I had taken my time and just kind of trusted my intuition. And my intuition was speaking really loud, but I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't know this industry. And I think it's really important because, because it's a business, it's supposed to be a mutual thing where one side wants one thing, the other side wants the other thing. And you try to find the middle ground. The other side, being director, producer, they want to get the most out of you, but if you don't know your worth, you don't know what you are comfortable with, then that could really set a bad precedent. It's important to know your worth and know that you don't have to do certain things, and if you do the things, you are going to be so much more in control and you're going to have a much better experience, so that if you want to push further, you can, but it's under your terms.
I'd like to also add on to that, but before I bring up my topic, because I really do think that that knowing your worth and picking the shoots that you want to actually shoot is like so important. And there's so many times where you'll get offered a shoot and somebody will be like, oh well, I want to take this shoot just because they're offering it to me, not because I necessarily want to do it. You know what I mean? And I feel like chemistry is the biggest key to selling like a good scene. And to take the liberty and be like, oh, I'm not necessarily comfortable with working with this type of performer for whatever reasons, that's your body and that's your decision to make, And I feel like that's really important, and I always try to pick who I work with because I want the scene to be the best and not just take whatever's thrown at me just because I think it's going to make the producer happy. I definitely agree with that a lot. I feel like there's so many things that we can talk about. What I wish I would have known. There's like so many different things, and I was like racking my brain on this. But the one that was like most prominent was content trades. I feel like there's so many, there's so many performers that are doing content trades now, especially like brand new performers. I mean, I feel like that's who we're talking to right now, and. One of the biggest things on that is there's not a lot of contracts, there's not a lot of discussion about what goes into that. And I feel like one of the most important things is to know who you're working with, where it's getting posted, and to know what you can do to help protect yourself. Which by that I mean there's so many different ways. I feel like there's so many people that do content trades. Like you keep a copy, I keep a copy, and then we're going to go split our ways, and we're both going to be okay with where we post it. And that's not always necessarily the case. The first time I ever did a double anal, one of the male performers ended up posting it on Pornhub while I sell it on a subscription site. So it's like there's no contract protecting me from that. He split it up. After I said something about it, like, hey, please don't do that, he split it up into 3 different previews, and it's like, you can still find it. It's part 1, part 2, and part 3. And it's completely ridiculous, especially because it's my hotel, my photographer, I organized it, he was one of the dicks, and it's, and I was the one that took both of them in my hands. So there's ways that you can protect yourself from doing that. You can offer trade for trade shoots, so like I could do a trade with Wolf, and then we'll do another scene where he keeps a copy of it. He solely keeps a copy of his scene. if you're not able to pay it outright, which I think is the most beneficial way, because that way, models are monetarily incentivized to actually show up to do the scenes, and that way you own exclusive rights to that, and make sure to get your contracts and to do the model agreements, and to also have consent on camera before and after. I feel like that's like one of the most important things that you can do. Also, to add on that, you could always set up your phone to not record for the production, but to record as insurance for yourself, so that way you're not violating somebody's personal boundaries. And I feel like that's one of the most important things that I wish I would have known before I joined the industry.
So I thought about this for a really long time because I have been around a while, right? And hindsight is always 20/20, and there are so many things that I do wish I would have known. At the same time, for me, being in this industry has definitely been a process and a lot of growth. One of the first things, though, that I wish I would have known, and this is pre-Wicked, so before I signed a contract with Wicked, I would have been more knowledgeable of the things that I was signing when I was working for other people. I would have taken a closer look at things like percentages of royalties and who was getting what and why. I also would have wanted to understand a little bit better that certain people were working for me and not the opposite. So if I would tell, one thing that I would offer to any new performer or any performer, please read everything before you sign it and understand exactly what it is, understand the rights that you are giving away by signing it, and I think that that understanding will definitely help with all performers being more comfortable demanding a rate that they think is worth whatever it is that they're doing. Understanding how many times that scene or content will be used moving forward. I think that's really important. The other thing that I'd love to speak to, and this is probably the biggest thing, like looking back on my entire career and even thinking about the direction that it's taking me now and the things that I'm doing in the future. The biggest thing that I wished I would have known back then was that it wasn't doing the industry a massive service for me to feel as if I was fighting the stigma that people hold of the adult industry by only maintaining a very polished veneer. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I experienced a consent violation on a set as a young performer. I'm not super young, I actually came in at like 25, I think, so I had that going for me at least. But I experienced this violation on a set that was not a Wicked set. It was when I was independent before I signed a contract. And the reason that I didn't do anything about that was because there were a few reasons. Victim blaming, of course, oh, well, you're in porn, what do you expect? And the other thing is, yeah, I was afraid of not being hired, again, of course. But I was also afraid that if I spoke out and was really vocal about it, that it would make the adult industry look bad. And now in retrospect, we have to understand that our lived experiences and us sharing them and being super vocal about them, these are the only ways that things are going to change in this business. So at that point, I think it was more of a gradual realization. It doesn't always have to be a perfect interview every time, and everything is not always perfect. And when there is a problem, we have to get it out and we have to talk about it, because that's the only way that it's going to change.
Do any of you guys want to add any other things you wish you would have known before I move into some other questions?
I'm still learning that, and I'm 15 years in, and it's like, it changes so often, and it's like, what I can say now, and we have different platforms that we can just talk, we can tweet our stuff, and it doesn't have to be, it just has to be something to put out in the world.
I feel like that can also be a double-edged sword as well on certain aspects too. You have to really kind of know what you're doing, because like you're saying, there's a lot, like I put things out there, and if in my own experience, I was like, well, this is what it's, this is what's right. This is my only option of outing, on sharing my experience because I feel violated. And I feel like in certain instances that I've witnessed, people have done it in kind of more of a malicious manner just because they don't like somebody, and that kind of backfires on them, especially when there are things like recordings of, set, and there's, signed waivers and things like that nature.
One thing that I wasn't ready for is like a division in the adult industry, because when I started, I heard like, this is sex workers, this is sex work, so anyone that has sex, we are all in the same group, but it's very divided. Like, for instance, I've only had sex like with you, and even like working with each other, like it has to be labeled, particularly each sex act, when I thought that I could just fuck humans. Like I never before thought I'd title myself as gay, straight, binary, black, whatever the fuck, I just have sex. So I thought that we were just sexual beings. But they definitely categorize this in a place that it's more beneficial if you just have sex according to your title, which isn't what my human body wants to do. I want to have sex with anyone that wants to have sex with me. And I didn't think that there would be somewhat of a punishment if I went outside of those boundaries. So that's one thing for me that was just kind of like disappointing in a way, that the industry doesn't like respect that like bi scenes are not true bi. Bi scenes would be me and Wolf fucking and Carla getting in, and like, why not, this right here is bi scene. But they'll put me with a girl that's wearing more makeup than me and call us gay, and I'm like, no. So it's like the titles and things and what we do just don't match, and that thing is like the labeling in porn is just kind of like an off-putting thing. And to touch on what you guys were talking about earlier is like our platforms. Like it feels like we have a louder voice to speak online than we do to our agents. In my opinion, that's just what I feel. I feel like I get a quicker response if I go on Twitter if I have a problem than talking with the people that I hired to work for me to fix these things.
Kind of touching on that, I didn't know there was such a segregation in the industry, and I came in doing gay and straight. I didn't know there was such intense reaction to that. You can't do that. A woman can have sex with a man and a woman, totally fine. I came in and I was viewed as the Antichrist. I'm here to plague every single performer with HIV. I don't have HIV, but that was the reaction. I'm like, what? I'm just here to work. I'm here to get paid, do a good job. And I've often thought about this, like if I had known that this would be such a political issue, would I have gotten into the industry? If I had been a little bit more prepared, how would have I navigated through that? Would I have just decided to just stick with straight or just stick with gay? I thought about that, but now that I've been in it, I've tried to navigate it the best way that I can, but there was never a rule book to it, so I faced a lot of backlash, even in the most pivotal moments of when someone in the industry became HIV positive, and immediately people looked at me. They're like, Wolf, are you okay? Are you the one? There was such a reaction and being ostracized. Agents would tell their performers, do not work with Wolf. He's on a 6-month quarantine. If he doesn't shoot, then you can work with him. And I'm like, I'm not a bad guy. That was very, very hard. And there's still a little bit of bitterness about it, but I don't deal with it as much because it's a matter of fact. It's kind of the business, but it shouldn't be. And I feel like now things are changing a little bit more, and performers are a lot more open about it. But coming into it, I didn't know it could be so cruel. I didn't think it would be such a bad thing, because we're all being judged by everyone. People are constantly saying women are being exploited, they're being abused, and you guys are degenerates. I didn't think that there would be any infighting within the industry. Even with racism, there's so much blatant racism. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what's going on? So, all isms, yeah.
All every ism.
Yeah, so I wish I had known.
Is this one? Oh, there's no filter really for like how blatant the industry puts things out there, and we're just meant to take it and perform with a dick in our mouth or ass or whatever hole you choose. So it's kind of hard to have all these things tossed at you and then like sit there and have friends that you can't work with because of whatever the industry decides is appropriate at the time, and you know, just deal with it on your own. So that kind of sucks, but it's like thankful for friends and Pineapple Support or whoever to like help us with those things. But there's a lot of things that are really hard, and like people forget that we're human and have to deal with all these issues and then come perform. And it's a lot. It's a lot of work that we deal with, and people discredit us a lot. A lot of times I hear people tell me like, oh, why don't you like be a real model? What the fuck kind of model am I if I'm not really model? I'm modeling the hardest product of all, bodies. Like, what do you mean? I'm definitely a real model. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw one out there, changing the topic a little bit. Something that we haven't really brought up yet is learn how to be smart with money. Yes, you specifically, Anna. No, just a lot of us come into the business and suddenly we're getting paid thousands of dollars a week on the day of the job, and it's important to learn that money doesn't last forever, and that the money you make in your first 3 months in the business doesn't last forever, and the jobs that you get right away don't last forever, and you have to learn what a savings account is, and how to pay your taxes, and how to be a business person.
I go with, and that gives you freedom to have sex with whoever you want. Because if I don't have to take a job for money, and I can do it for myself or somebody else, I have the freedom. Controlling your money gives you freedom to do whatever you want, not just important in life. And if we treat it like a business, we'll make it into a business.
All right, shall we do a question? What was the hardest moment that you've experienced, and how did you overcome it? Personally or professionally, how did you overcome it? Well, you should go first, since we talked about it already.
The hardest decision I did was not changing my name to do all genres. And it may not seem like a big deal, but it was, because at the time, if a male performer wanted to do gay or straight porn, you had to go by different names. You couldn't do both. You didn't want to be seen or didn't want to find out and have the repercussions of being blacklisted. And I just found it to be bullshit. I'm like, why can't I just do everything and make money and have a good time? And then coming to terms with that and just saying, you know what? I'm gonna keep the same name. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna put myself as bisexual, and fuck it if you don't want it. That was really hard because on the one hand, it was very liberating. I got to really put myself out there and I got so much respect from people. On the other hand, I dealt with the backlash, and I've missed out on many opportunities because of it. There have been plenty of male performers who have gone on to switch from gay to straight and have had illustrious careers. They've won plenty of awards and worked with some of the top performers, but they stopped doing gay, so that was okay. For me, being as open as I was, it didn't matter what I did, how professional I was, how nice I was, that was still like a bad stain on me. But I don't regret doing it, because from the bad stuff that I've experienced, I've gotten so many other great opportunities. I've met so many people. I've traveled all over the world. It's opened up a lot of doors for me that I probably would not have gotten if I had just stuck with one genre, or if I had just kept two different names. But that was really hard, and I struggled with it. But once I did it, I was very proud of it, and I took the heat, I took the punches, and I'm still here after 14 years, and I'm still doing it, and it's only gotten better.
I feel like one of the hardest things that I've had to overcome in the industry was getting violated on set and then having my scene the very next day canceled because of it. And it was something that like I just didn't know how to deal with. And what happened was I performed and I worked my ass off all day. I did reverse cowgirl and 5-inch stilettos for like 17 minutes. They wanted me to transition at 20, and it was because of that they decided to cancel my scene the next day, which was the morning of a very important award ceremony that I was nominated for multiple awards. And I left feeling really burnt. I was supposed to feature dance that night. I was doing anal the next day, obviously, so I didn't eat, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. So one of the hardest things was airing it out on Twitter and deciding, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. And even if I do have to face the backlash of not getting booked again, or by performers looking at me as the one that airs out their problems on Twitter, I was like, this is what I have to do. And so I did it, and I actually got a really good response from a lot of the performers in the industry, and they were right there with me. And they hit me up in my DMs and they shared their stories as well. And to be honest, I contacted attorneys because of it, because I was left without money, and I was just felt extremely violated. And the attorneys that contacted me actually offered to pay me money for some of my nudes instead of helping me with. So it was just it went even further downhill, and I was like, there's nothing that I can do about this, and I just kind of felt really burnt about it. At least I had the satisfaction of airing this out on social media. But I felt like I did overcome it the next day when I won Solo Performer of the Year in the Transgender Erotica Awards.
Okay, this is gonna sound a little thing, but like not getting support from your fellow performers and having that hurt your feelings, and having it where it makes you feel like you're alone, but really it's just that group of people. That's that. But you can have the people that are supportive and always there for you, but it's just finding the right people and not expecting those people to change your mind and your attitude about everybody around you. So.
For me, I think the hardest thing in the industry for me to overcome was probably the best thing at the same time was my race. Being black in the industry is definitely hard. I didn't expect to come out and be titled in something with beautiful preteen girl, fucks black ass bitch, Anna Fox. So I was like, God damn, it's so aggressive, really rude. So. I mean, for me, definitely, my race was the hardest thing for me to overcome in the industry, because it was my one thing that stood apart and like put me aside from everybody else, and like put me at, gave me respect, but also like it was hard to see the titles and the movies and like to feel like I was just like the side performer, like the last spot that they decided to fill, and they're like, okay, cool, like we got a movie full of girls and we just need one more black one so we don't like races. So. I had a hard time trying to feel like I wasn't the token in every fucking porno that I did. Because I'm okay being titled a whore, slut, dirty, sloppy, whatever the fuck on the floor. But for some reason, every time they touched on my race, I never saw myself as like specifically black. I just thought I was a human fucking other humans. And I never looked at any other person as like, oh, I'm fucking a gay dude, or BBW. I never looked at anybody else as whatever the industry decided to title them for. So for me, every single title that I did was just like awarding, but disheartening at the same time. So I've struggled with that this whole time, and I'm still struggling with it, but luckily I have a lot of people and companies that don't treat me that way, and just have me be a performer aside fellow performers.
The hardest thing for me to overcome was my position of privilege, which I didn't realize I had when I was a new performer. I came in as a teen who was relatively petite, and a Speedway girl from the very beginning, and I used to walk around like such an asshole. And I didn't realize I was doing it. I was just obnoxious to people, and I thought I was God's gift to porn. And I wasn't, I am not. And it's taken all of these years to learn that I can do things like this. I can do outreach, I can do community outreach, I can help new girls, I can use my position of privilege in the industry for good rather than to be a dick. What was the best piece of advice someone gave you when you got in? What do you remember?
We start there this time. I think I got this.
This is an easy one. The best piece of advice or information that someone gave me as I was getting into the industry when I hadn't even gotten in yet was this. No matter what you do or accomplish throughout your whole entire life, this will always be a part of who you are, and it will always impact the way people think about you. I was fortunate enough to be given that advice before on camera. Not everybody gets that speech. It is by far the greatest piece of advice that I got, and it is a piece of advice that I offer anybody that's contemplating doing anything in this industry.
For me, the first piece of advice that I got that stuck to me was to treat everybody that you work with as if they're the most exciting person that you've ever fucking fucked. Like, they're Turkish delight. And if they're not, don't do it. You know, so if you don't think you're gonna have that reaction, just don't do it. And that really stuck to me because I'm a Scorpio. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but look at you, fellow hoes, hey. But yeah, so I already knew I was down to fuck. I just wanted to make sure that if I wasn't like gonna fully engage in it, that I didn't do it. So that was my one piece of advice that stuck with me.
Love your body because you only have one. Seriously, we sometimes treat it almost for granted, and we just don't imagine that this is going to ever change, but it does, and it can, and you have to give it the self-love it deserves every day.
I feel it was more of like a piece of knowledge than advice, is that there is a community of performers out here in Vegas and LA. I, like many of other performers that have ventured out into the West Coast, I'm from Miami originally, so I came out here, I didn't bring my family or anybody like that. I gained a circle of friends, and I feel like that was like the most important thing, is people reaching out to me and to kind of generate a community.
Mine is a little bit more lighthearted. A director once told me when I was a little bit uneasy about what to do in a certain scene. He told me, it's just sex. Like, recognize what it is, respect what you're doing, have a good time. Because if you're not having a good time, the person watching it is not going to have a good time. So understand first and foremost, what you're doing is entertaining, and it's very pivotal. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be in a bedroom, you can be in a beach, in a mansion, it doesn't matter. Your focus is the sex, and make sure that you're fully committed and you're in the moment. And recognizing that will not only make you such a better performer, but it will be a much better representation of the industry. You know, it brings about something beautiful and something positive. And for the most part, I feel like it does come across. Actually, not for the most part, I think it does come across. I think people can see when it's genuine and when it's not. And I've made a very conscious effort to always be in the moments, to perform with people that I'm actually attracted to, and, you know, and just give it my all and not lose track of that. I don't worry about the cameras, I don't worry about the lights and all that stuff. That's almost irrelevant. If I'm not there, then what's the point? So.
Different from the things you just said, tomorrow is my first porn scene. What are you gonna tell me?
Silicone lube is your friend. Don't be afraid to spit on genitals. It's okay. Make sure to bring your bra and panty sets and shoes. Jewelry is your friend as well. First porn scene at Funnies.
Epsom bath before and after, just to get comfortable. It relaxes your muscles. You're just more, you're in it, you're winning it. Do it.
The liquid inside the enema is not to be put inside your ass.
I think everybody needs to tweet that.
I wish someone would have told me that before my first porn scene. Eventually, Chanel Preston came along and taught me what to do with my stuff, and I remember it so distinctly that I remember who it was, but no one told me that the douche liquid is not to go inside your vagina and the enema liquid is to not go inside your butthole. No one told me.
PSA. Please, everyone, take this information far and wide. Spread it.
Tell your friends.
If you were doing your first scene tomorrow, I would say you are in complete control. You are the boss of your body. You are the person who calls the shots about what it is you're going to do. And if something isn't pleasuring you, seek out pleasure. One of the first things I realized when I was independent before I signed a contract with Wicked as a new performer, I quickly realized that the sex that we were shooting was almost mechanical in that it was very formulaic, right? So it's like kissing, oral, position, pop, and maybe some anal at the end, I don't know. And then the pop shot, sort of signified the end of the scene, but I didn't get mine. And I was like, hey, what about me? And like I would go and masturbate after scenes because I wasn't getting off. And once this finally dawned on me, I was like, what about my clit? So enjoy, have fun, enjoy your first scene.
You actually kind of took what I was going to say. So, hygiene. Practice good hygiene. It doesn't matter what you're into in your personal life. That does not translate when you go on set. But just brush your teeth, use wipes, use courtesy wipes right before a scene. Just really try to practice good hygiene. Yeah.
Clean fingernails. Sorry.
I was just about to say clean fingernails, it's a thing of mine. I also want to add, this is a yeast infection. These are the symptoms of a yeast infection. This is BV. These are the symptoms of BV. These things are okay to happen, they will happen to you, and this is how you take care of them. This is a UTI. These are the symptoms of a UTI, and it's also okay, but you need to go to the doctor and get medicine so you can feel better. Do I have until 2:50 or until 3? Then we're done.